Hi everyone, it's Monday morning and your essay is due on Friday. This is your very quick guide to what in the world should I do about that. You might already know these things, but I want to give you a quick reminder. One, you have a lot of reading to do. For goodness sakes, go back to the assignment itself. Read over every single word. If it helps you, go ahead and print it out and circle things. Highlight things like, oh right, I forgot about that part. You know that. Second, I would go to the top of our Moodle page and you see where it says Rubric for Assessing Writing. It's this PDF here. You have a handout of it. Again, I would read that over as well. I mean, like literally read every single word. Crazy, right? I know it takes a lot of time, but I think it'll be worth it to you to know what I'm looking for. Go back to these documents. Remember those samples that we had in class. Read all the little things I wrote over here. Read it once or maybe even twice. I know it seems like a lot, but again, I think if you're trying to get to know what do I value, I gave you all of these things that really you've got to dig into to really understand. While we're talking about reading, you know the Norton Field Guide to Writing has some really good stuff on some basic ideas for writing. Right now, where I would most suggest you go is the chapter called Beginning and Ending. They give you a lot of suggestions on introductions and conclusions. Of course, there are a lot of other websites and stuff about that, some of which are awesome and some of which are a little less awesome. You also know that in Everything's an Argument, you have those questions and the yellow pages at the end of Chapter 6. Y'all, you've got to read those. You can't just go forward without those because I am telling you that I think a strong essay is built on the formulation of the thesis, the claims, the way that that chapter talks you through. Okay, that's the reading part. That's like the preparation. That's the thinking. I mean, not even talking about the reading really carefully of the article you found. What about the writing? Here's how I do it. Now, I'm not going to force you to do anything like this. I usually start and I write something like intro here because I have no idea what my intro is going to be until I actually write my actual essay. Then I usually think, what am I most interested in? What am I most kind of excited to write about? And just kind of start there. I say like, well, I know I'm going to write about the ethos in the article because I think it's the most interesting, so I'll just dig in with that. And then I just kind of start in. Sometimes I write things like, I'll need a transition from the last paragraph here, but I'm not going to write it right now. And then I say, Smith's ethos is evident in every line of the article. For instance, at one point, he claims, and then I give a little quote, and then I would kind of keep writing that paragraph. I dive into what feels good. If at one point I'm like, oh, I don't really know quite the word, I don't quite want to say, I might want to say something like, it's, and I'm not sure, do I say surprising, off-putting, annoying, what word am I going to do there? I don't know, I'll just put all of them. That Smith chooses to use the word felicitous. And in other words, I write it quickly. I write to get stuff down on paper. I write to help me understand what I think is good. At the end, you know, after a few paragraphs, I might write like conclusion here if I don't have any idea for it yet. Then I might hop up to the top later and be like, ooh, I just got a really good idea for the title. I want the title should be, you know, blah, blah, blah. What I do is I do all of this first and get a super messy draft, like messy draft 1. Then I go back a little bit later, and on the screen, I read over it, and I try to fix some of the stuff. I say, oh, well, I think I'll just choose one of these words. I think annoying was the right word, so I'll get rid of that. I'll get rid of the bold so it doesn't pop out anymore. I'll kind of have like messy draft 2. Now, when I meet with you on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, you can bring either of those. That's totally fine. But then, this is for me the most important part. I wait 24 hours. Then I print this thing up. I can't do the next phase on the screen. I go to print, and I get this on paper, and I pace. Now, I know this might seem weird. I actually take a pen in my hand, and I pace, and I read it out loud to myself. Yes, I read it out loud. I have to hear what it sounds like as a whole, what the sentences feel like, what the transitions feel like, what ideas I totally miss, and I scribble all over that thing. Then I immediately, right after I scribble on it, I sit back down and then I add it in here. And that kind of gets me to what I think of as like clean draft 1. I'm finally at clean draft 1. Then if I can, it doesn't always work, I give myself 24 more hours. I know, that's crazy. I don't always have that much time. Maybe you don't. I wait as long as I can. Then I go back and give it one more careful read through on the screen, often out loud again. I fix it up to have clean draft 2. If I'm out of time, sometimes clean draft 2 is what I churn in. If my dream is to wait a little bit longer and get it up to clean draft 3. I know that's not always possible. Okay, you know all this hopefully. Good luck. I'm going to see you on Friday.